Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to agree with my colleague from Wisconsin that we should be having in-person hearings. But we can't do that, as Speaker Pelosi's made clear, until enough of the Congress members have taken shots, vaccinations, to make us be safe in our committees. And I believe it's about half of the members on the other side who have not taken their tests. And that's why we can't go back to our hearings like we'd like. So if they would just roll up their sleeves and allow a little needle to be put in their arm to protect them from this pandemic, we could all be back together again. I look forward to that. Secondly, as far as the people that criticize Harvard and Yale, yeah, Judge Barrett went to Rhodes College, a Rhodes Scholar from Memphis. So we're proud of that. Judge Donald, you've seen the fact that federal judiciary is never as diverse as it should be. And over the past 4 years, which direction have we gone in? We've gone the wrong direction. Out of 226 judges appointed by Donald Trump, only 24% were women and only 16% were non-white. And when you look at the appeals court where you sit, Judge Donald, the statistics are just astonishingly worse. 0 black appeals court judges were appointed by Trump. 0 out of about 65. He couldn't find one black judge out of 65 who would qualify because he does everything, according to some of these people, based on qualifications. Not a single qualified black person. Unbelievable. No Hispanic appeals court either. None. This is important because as we look at our life experiences, judges are no different. And Trump basically put white people in control because it was all about changing the balance of power. Judge Donald, you have a seat at the district court and the circuit court levels. You've had that. You've heard appeals court cases with panels and judges interacting with each other and deciding cases. How did judges' life experiences play into the deliberative process, and how, if at all, has that been, was it different at the trial court level versus the appellate court level?
Well, obviously, thank you, Congressman Cohen. At the trial court level, I sat as a sole decision maker. And in trials, of course, with juries, I had a jury there to be the decider of the fact, but it did not rely on any kind of collaborative or deliberative process between judges. I was a sole decision maker. At the appellate court, I sit with panels, sit in panels of 3 or sometimes with an en banc court. And all of us, whether we acknowledge it or not, we to some degree rely on lived experiences. We all study the same black letter law. But then in interpreting and applying that law, those lived experiences are brought to bear. And for people who say, well, that's wrong, but how else could it be? If all of us, if the black letter law was all that we relied on, then we would not have minority and majority opinions on an issue, because we would all see everything the same way. We would look at the law the same way. So those lived experiences help us to round out and factor in all the considerations of the law that we're sitting and looking. So it's important because we have a back and forth, and we put all of those views about cases and come to hopefully a richer experience. And sometimes, and I would say this, most of the decisions on our court are unanimous. Most of our decisions are unanimous, and I think it's probably that way on most courts. But there are times when we look at those issues, and based on our reading of the law and our shared, our lived experiences, we come to different results, as all courts do.
Thank you, Judge. You have a rare background for a federal judge, and one that's really people should be envious of. You got your degrees from the University of Memphis, my alma mater as well, for law school. You worked at Memphis Area Legal Services to provide legal assistance for those who couldn't otherwise afford it. As a public defender, you did the same thing. Do you find that background useful in your deliberative process? How do you think having a more diverse judiciary, particularly with respect to educational and professional experiences, would affect judicial decision-making?
I think those experiences, Congressman Cohen, were and are enormously important. You know, we have not talked about one dimension of diversity, and that's socioeconomic diversity. I represented people, poor people, who otherwise had no voice. I went into the criminal courts and stood as the voice and the advocate for people accused with the government against them and only an advocate representing them. It is important that we have not only the prosecutorial perspective, that the judges experience, but also the defense perspective. And to be a public interest lawyer is a component that we don't often find in judges, but it is an important and critical component. And I think it also helps lend legitimacy, and it also helps with the perception of justice by the people that we seek to serve.
Thank you, Judge Donald. I yield back the balance of my time.